Muhammad Ali, original name Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr. He was born 17 January 1942, Louisville, Kentucky, U.S. Died June 3, 2016, Scottsdale, Arizona. He was American professional boxer and social activist. Ali was the first fighter to win the World Heavyweight Championship on 3 separate occasions. He successfully defended this title 19 times. Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr. grew up in the American South in a time of segregated public facilities. His father, Cassius Marcellus Clay, Sr., supported a wife and his sons by painting billboards and signs. His mother, Odessa Grady Clay, worked as a household domestic. When Clay was 12 years old, he took up boxing under the tutelage of Louisville policeman Joe Martin. After advancing through the amateur ranks, he won a gold medal in the 175-pound division at the 1960 Olympic Games in Rome and began a professional career under the guidance of the Louisville Sponsoring Group, a syndicate composed of 11 wealthy white men. In his early bouts as a professional, Clay was more highly regarded for his charm and personality and for his ring skills. He sought to raise public interest in his fights by reading childlike poetry and spouting self-descriptive phrases such as float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. On February 25, 1964, Clay challenged Sonny Liston for the heavyweight championship of the world. Liston was widely regarded as the most intimidating, powerful fighter of his era. Clay was a decided underdog, but in one of the most stunning upsets in sports history, Liston retired to his corner after 6 rounds, and Clay became the new champion. 2 days later, Clay shocked the boxing establishment again by announcing that he had accepted the teachings of the Nation of Islam. On March 6, 1964, he took the name Muhammad Ali, which was given to him by his spiritual mentor, Elijah Muhammad. For the next 3 years, Ali dominated boxing as thoroughly and magnificently as any fighter ever had. In a May 25, 1965, rematch against Liston, he emerged with a first-round knockout victory. Triumphs over Floyd Patterson, George Chuvalo, Henry Cooper, Brian London, and Carl Mildenberger followed. On November 14, 1966, Ali fought Cleveland Williams. Over the course of 3 rounds, Ali landed more than 100 punches, scored for knockdowns, and was hit a total of 3 times. Ali's triumph over Williams was succeeded by victories over Ernie Terrell and Zora Fawley. Then, on April 28, 1967, citing his religious beliefs, Ali refused induction into the U.S. Army at the height of the war in Vietnam. This refusal followed a blunt statement voiced by Ali 14 months earlier: "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong." Many Americans vehemently condemned Ali's stand, though one of Ali's earliest defenders was famed sports broadcaster Howard Cosell, who had covered and praised the fighter since the beginning of his career as Cassius Clay. Ali's position was especially controversial because it came at a time when most people in the United States still supported the war in Southeast Asia. Moreover, although exemptions from military service on religious grounds were available to qualifying conscientious objectors who were opposed to war in any form, Ali was not eligible for such an exemption because he acknowledged they would be willing to participate in an Islamic holy war. Ali was stripped of his championship and precluded from fighting by every state athletic commission in the United States for 3.5 years. In addition, he was criminally indicted and, on June 20, 1967, convicted of refusing induction into the U.S. Armed Forces and sentenced to 5 years in prison, although he remained free on bail. 4 years passed before his conviction was unanimously overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court on a narrow procedural ground. Meanwhile, as the 1960s grew more tumultuous, Ali's impact upon American society was growing, and he became a lightning rod for dissent. Ali's message of black pride and black resistance to white domination was on the cutting edge of the civil rights movement. Having refused induction into the U.S. Army, he also stood for the proposition that unless you have a very good reason to kill, war is wrong. As black activist Julian Bond later observed, when a figure as heroic and beloved as Muhammad Ali stood up and said, "No, I won't go," it reverberated through the whole society. In October 1970, Ali was allowed to return to boxing, but his skills had eroded the legs that had allowed him to dance for 15 rounds, without stopping no longer, carried him as surely around the ring. His reflexes, while still superb, were no longer as fast as they had once been. Ali prevailed in his first two comeback fights, against Jerry Corey and Oscar Bonavena. Then, on March 8, 1971, he challenged Joe Frazier, who had become heavyweight champion during Ali's absence from the ring. It was a fight of historic proportions, billed as the fight of the century. Frazier won a unanimous 15-round decision. Following his loss to Frazier, Ali won 10 fights in a row, 8 of them against world-class opponents. Then, on March 31, 1973, a little-known fighter named Ken Norton broke Ali's jaw in the second round en route to a 12-round upset decision. Ali defeated Norton in a rematch. After that, he fought Joe Frazier a second time and won a unanimous 12-round decision. From a technical point of view, the second Ali-Frazier bout was probably Ali's best performance in the ring after his exile from boxing. On October 30, 1974, Ali challenged George Foreman, who had dethroned Frazier in 1973 to become heavyweight champion of the world. The bout, which Ali referred to as the Rumble in the Jungle, took place in the unlikely location of Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Ali was received by the people of Zaire as a conquering hero, and he did his part by knocking out Foreman in the 8th round to regain the heavyweight title. It was in this fight that Ali employed a strategy once used by former boxing great Archie Moore. Moore called the maneuver the turtle, but Ali called it rope-a-dope. The strategy was that, instead of moving around the ring, Ali chose to fight for extended periods of time, leaning back into the ropes in order to avoid many of Foreman's heaviest blows. Over the next 30 months, at the peak of his popularity as champion, Ali fought 9 times in bouts that showed him to be a courageous fighter, but a fighter on the decline. The most notable of these bouts occurred on October 1, 1975, when Ali and Joe Frazier met in the Philippines, 6 miles (9.5 kilometers) outside Manila, to do battle for the third time in what is regarded by many as the greatest prize fight of all time, the Thrilla in Manila. Ali was declared the victor when Frazier's corner called a halt to the bout after 14 brutal rounds. The final performances of Ali's ring career were sad to behold. In 1978, he lost his title to Leon Spinks, a novice boxer with an Olympic gold medal, but only 7 professional fights to his credit. 7 months later, Ali regained the championship with a 15-round victory over Spinks. Then he retired from boxing. But 2 years later, he made an ill-advised comeback and suffered a horrible beating at the hands of Larry Holmes in a bout that was stopped after 11 rounds. The final ring contest of Ali's career was a loss by decision to Trevor Berbick in 1981. Ali's place in boxing history as one of the greatest fighters ever is secure. His final record of 56 wins and 5 losses with 37 knockouts has been matched by others, but the quality of his opponents and the manner in which he dominated during his prime placed him on a plateau with boxing's immortals. Ali's most tangible ring assets were speed, superb footwork, and the ability to take a punch, but perhaps more important, he had courage and all the other intangibles that go into making a great fighter. Ali married his 4th wife, Lonnie Yolanda Williams, in 1986. He had 9 children, most of whom avoided the spotlight of which Ali was so fond. One of his daughters, however, Lila Ali, pursued a career as a professional boxer, during which she went undefeated in 24 bouts between 1999 and 2007, while capturing a number of titles in various weight classes. In 1996, Ali was chosen to light the Olympic flame at the start of the Games of the 26th Olympiad in Atlanta. Georgia.